There we go. Ah, yeah. Welcome to episode 2. Count 'em. Numero dos. Regalwood Rasslin live. We are live right now, concurrently on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. I'm your host, Richard James Regal, the overlord of the wasteland, the engineer of combat, the big boss with the hot sauce, and the star of this very self-same show. I am Ricky Regal, again, your humblest of hosts, and I am live on all of those previously mentioned platforms. Running a little late this afternoon, got in a few minutes later than we expected. Sorry about that, that's on me. And my guest who I'm standing by for is currently unaccounted for. So he may pop in here directly. Hopefully he will. And yeah, we'll see how this thing goes. YouTube is Wrestle Radio 860, WRESTLERADIO on YouTube. That's the hub of all things Regal. That's where it all lives and dies, brother. If you want to know anything about me or my past or whatever we got going on in the world of Regalwood, that's the place to go. Check that out. That is the hub. Old shows from way back in the day, and I mean way back in the day. Some of you remember those Wesley's Nightlife Club. Some of you remember some of those other things you'll see. Legends like Paul Cowboy Helms, Lance Gaylord, Randy Nichols, just all those old SCW and all those guys. All that stuff's up there. Thanks to a friend of mine. Thanks to Kim for saving all those tapes, and I got those transferred over to digital and uploaded them so all of you can enjoy them too. So go out there to the Regalwood, to the Wrestle Radio 860 YouTube channel and check out all that old stuff. Of course, there's interviews when I had the real radio show. Not that this isn't real, because I am real. I'm not AI yet. All that stuff's hosted over there. Some of the interviews with some of the greats like John Adam Laurinaitis, Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, so on and so forth. But go check that out on the Wrestle Radio 860 page. Twitch is Regalwood 69. Regalwood 6969. I think I got too many of these. I need. For all the people that watch, I really should pare some of this down because I don't think we should have that many, but we do. Regalwood, Twitch, Regalwood 6969. Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal, and Rumble and Kick are Regalwood, respectively. Look for this guy up here behind me, the big bulldog, for all things Regal, including the gaming stuff. Which, by the way, and I know this will thrill some of you, Regalwood Gaming returns Friday of this week. Friday, March 27th, in the year of our Lord. Ricky Regal and Regalwood Gaming return to the airwaves. We're going to fire up some new games that we've been playing and we've been striving at for the last little while. We're still doing our gaming. We just haven't been streaming it. Took about 3-ish months off and came back. We're going to come back strong Friday with some more gaming for those of you who are so inclined to enjoy that. Starting this week, still haven't heard from it says no. Let's see. I think my man might have joined the wrong room because I don't see him in here. Oh, let me see. Give me just a second, friends. This may cause a problem here. Let's just see what we got. Trying to get Randy Wayne in. I see you, Randy, but I don't know why you're not in the other room where you should be. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I see you and I hear you just perfectly on the phone here, but I don't see you in the, Don't know what to do here because I haven't had another technical difficulties. As usual, we can't have a stream. I'm live right now, so I'm talking to you and to the world. Wouldn't be a stream, wouldn't be a Regal stream without some technical difficulties. So let me see. Tell you what, I don't know why you didn't pop into this one because it's the same room. Yeah, I tell you what, do you have your Facebook open by chance? Let me send you the link through there, and if you click directly from there, it should take you straight from your phone into there. So if you give me just a second, I'll send you the link to your Facebook chat there and see if that squares it up. Let me see what I got here. Let me see what I got here, my friend. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, to the Randy Wayne page. I'm gonna send it there, okay? Sounds right, man. We'll get it right. We will figure this thing out. I guarantee. Give me just a second, friends. Let me get this sent to Randy. I sent him the right link, but for some reason he went to a different room, which is strange. But we'll try it again. Video. Y'all just hang with me. We're gonna get it going. I guarantee this is the stuff that you want to see because this gives you the behind the scenes of just how crazy this stuff gets. All right, let's see. All right, so till we get hey Lace, appreciate you joining in. Lace is another legend. She's another one of them vampires I was talking about the other week when I talked about Kim and talked about Cruz or Lewis. Vampires, they never change, they never age, they always look exactly the same as they did. So I think I fell into a coven of vampires instead of a coven of wrestlers back in the day. But welcome, Lace. Haven't seen you in a little bit of a minute. Glad to see you in here and joining the activities and festivities. So, of course, it wouldn't be a Regalwood stream if we did not have some technical difficulties. And by George, we got them in droves today. But I think if we can get Randy into the right. I see him. You hear me? All right, let me see. You hear me, Randy? I don't know if he can hear me just yet. Let me see. I'll tell you what. This will take me just a second, friends. Give me just a second here to get the Randy's y'all, we're gonna get there. I guarantee. I guarantee we're gonna get there. Okay. Randy, can you hear me? So he was there, now he's gone. There's nothing like producing on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing like producing on the fly. Can you hear me, Randy Wayne?
Yeah, I can now.
There we go. Now we're cooking. All right, hold on. Just stand by. Everybody just calm the F down, and we're going to get there. All right. Give me 1 second to get Randy added in here. And we're going to be cooking with gas, friends. Cooking with gas or something. Uh-oh. That's not right. Hang on. Everybody just settle down. Everybody just settle the F down, okay? Can you people do that for me? Just settle down. I know what I'm doing. It don't seem like this is all organized chaos. And so, yeah, it'll all make sense in a minute. There he is. Can you still hear me, Randy?
Sure can.
My brother. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Normally, I had a whole, an open, but I tell you what, we'll push that off to them because I got Randy in here and I want to get right to him. Randy and I met some years back at HVW and hit it off right away. And that's unusual for me. That is very unusual for me to hit it off with anybody because I just don't by God like people. And a lot of you can attest to that. But Randy and I, we had some common interests, some common other factors, and so we sat back there and we hit it off in the dressing room. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's my friend Randy Wayne. Hello, Randy. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, man. Doing well. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute, brothers. What you been up to? Everything, right?
Life. Life.
So you were, like I said, we met up in HVW up for Viper. Where had you how long had you been working when I met you? And that's been better than 10 plus years ago, I'm sure, right?
18 years ago when I met. I hadn't been working near as long as I was telling people I had been working.
That's what we all do, bro.
I'm sure it was glaringly obvious at the time. Basically obvious. I started, I think I met you in the winter of 07, maybe spring of 08. I started training in October of 2004 with Killer Tim Brooks. He had a tin barn with a ring in it. That was his training center. But I'm in Waxahachie, Texas. And like I say, October 2004, and I trained about a year and reffed a lot before he cleared me to take bookings and stuff. So I guess I started working sometime in mid to late 05.
So tell me about that training with Killer. How did you get involved in that, and how did you meet him, and how did you get turned on to his school?
Man, I was 30 by the time I started training. I'd been in the Marine Corps for 10 years and had just gotten out, and I went to the VFW in Waxahachie, Texas, to play in a Texas Hold'em tournament. And the funny backstory is, I'm from Silver, North Carolina originally, but my mother married a man from Joshua, Texas, and I spent all my summers out there. Now, Joshua is just outside of Fort Worth, so it's real close to, the hotbed that was world class and everything. And every summer they would take me to the Sportatorium once or twice to see the matches and things. And I remembered Killer. Remember him well because he scared the shit out of me back then.
Yeah.
As a kid, I saw him at the bar. And I thought, man, this guy looks familiar. And then it clicked who it was. And so I walked up to him and I said, excuse me, or what about?
Did we lose you there, Randy? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. That was not me. That was I think we might have lost him on his cell there. So lovely world of the intranets. Just send him a message that we lost him there. Yeah, look, it was. Look, it happens, right? In the world, in the world that we live in, and technology being what it is, it ain't always going to work like we want it to. I think you may have lost cell service completely because I just texted and my text didn't even go through. So we'll try to get back to Randy a little bit later. If not, we'll bring him on again in the future. Look, these things happen, man. It's live programming, live streaming. You never know what you're going to get, but you're going to get something, and it's going to be quality. All right, so before we lost Brother Randy there, and look, I appreciate him for coming on. Randy's a good kid. He's a good hand. Wanted to talk to him. He's got some charity events coming up, but like I said, we'll get him on. We'll get him on again and see if we can. Maybe we can try it again here. Give it one more shot. Let's see. I think he's trying to get back into the room here. Don't see him though. I don't know. Randy's having. Hey, hang on a minute, bro. Let's see. Let me try. All right, we're gonna try it one more time. Let me see if I can. Can you hear me, Randy?
I can. Can you hear me, see me, all that?
Yeah, I hear you, see you, and you actually sound a lot better than you did a little bit ago. I was getting a little reverb there on your on your phone, but I think we got you now. Let me get you back in here. Welcome back, Randy Wayne. Got you back live here on the stream. You were telling us about how you got up with Killer Brooks there, and how your training began, and how you kind of got into this thing. So kind of pick it up right there.
Yeah, I walked out. I saw him sitting at the bar, and I walked up to him and I asked him, are you Killer Tim Brooks? And he looks at me and he goes, I'm what's left of him, brother. And we got into a conversation. He was a veteran. A lot of people didn't know that about him. He was military police during Vietnam War in the Army, and he was also Dick Murdoch's first cousin, funny enough. But that's a whole different story. But we just got to talking, and he asked me if I was a fan, and and you ever think about trying it? Yeah, I'm a little old now. He goes, you're not that old. You can still do it, And so basically what he did, he invited me out, and this was a Friday night, by the way. He invited me out the next morning on Saturday to his school, and he told me just come out and observe, see what you think, see if you want to try it out, whatever. And I thought, okay. And then he said, well, if you come, make sure you wear, something you can work out in or whatever, just in case you decide you want to try it. And it was funny. He told me to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And what I didn't realize was it started at 9. And by the time I got there, he had smartened all the boys up to this new kid's coming in. So when I walk in the barn, he's got heels on one side, babies on the other. They're talking smack back and forth, working the shit. And I ended up going to the heel side naturally.
Yeah.
The first. And by the end of it, he put me in a 6 or an 8-man tag, kind of call it a scrimmage, I don't know, type of thing, and I was hooked, and I was there every Saturday after that, for the next. I mean, I went as long as he was still alive. If I was around on Saturday mornings, I would go. So, but that's how I broke in.
Yeah, I was telling. I don't know if you saw last week's episode 1. I was telling a story when we very, very, very first broke in, and Mickey. I don't. Did you ever meet my partner Mickey? I don't know if you did or not. Mickey Free.
I don't think.
Yeah, he was not active when I was coming up to HBW, but when he and I broke in, I actually, and I told this story last week. I'll just tell it to you really quickly. We ran up there to this guy that we found here locally. In the same county we grew up in, who had a ring in his yard. And anyway, long and short of it is, we went up there for a couple of weeks. I was going just to watch. I didn't really think I wanted to be a wrestler. And By the third week, Mickey had taught me up to get up on the apron and said, "Come on in the ring." I said, "Nah, I'm not. I'm not. I ain't made my mind up yet." He's like, "Come in the ring," and I was like, "I don't think so." Anyway, he gave me a gut punch, hooked me up for the suplex, suplexed me from the apron into the ring, and from that moment on, from that, I was like life before wrestling and life after wrestling. It was literally being baptized into it, and that was the way I was brought in. And from that moment forward, man, you talk about hooks, and I grew up on it. I mean, I grew up on NWA stuff. We're from the South, so NWA was what we knew as wrestling, and so having watched this as just childhood, and then being brought into it, it was just like my eyes open and the whole world opened before me, and so it was that's kind of the way it is, man. Once you get in there, and if it's in you and you really feel it, once you get a taste of it, brother, it's in you. And I've walked away from this 1,000 times. I said I'm done. I'm never going to do it again. And every time, like the Godfather, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. You know what I mean? So I get you on that. So So I know you said you're from Silva. What brought you? How'd you meet up with Viper and that crowd up there in North Carolina? At what was it, Hendersonville?
Yeah, well, I had been, I'd lived in Texas. I mean, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was on recruiting duty in Dallas, out of recruiting station Dallas, and I EAS'd out of the Marine Corps, and trying to make a marriage work that wasn't going to work, and then we divorced, so I just moved home back to Silva, and that was in late '06, and I had been working 3 or 4 times a weekend, for the last 2 years or so, year and a half at least. And that was the MySpace days and stuff,
Yeah.
and everything.
The glitter pages.
And I started looking for MySpace and Facebook. I just started looking for somewhere to wrestle, and the one that I found, the first one I found happened to be HVW.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a guy that he's passed away, but there was a guy that worked for Gary or booked for him or something called Mr. Terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big heavy dude.
Yeah, with the weird hair. Yeah.
Lived in an assisted living facility with Divas pictures all over his wall. He's an odd cat. But,
yeah. Yeah, he was.
But I met that page. He's like, yeah, told him, hey, trained by this guy, been working this long, like to come in, and they're like, we'll be here, this whatever, whatever date it was. And they put me in there with Law, my first night there, Law Case.
Yep.
And I remember the first couple times I hit him, his eyes got kind of wide, and he pulled me in tight. He goes, man, lighten up.
Yeah.
And we got to the back, and he goes, you definitely are from Texas. He said, you guys hit harder out there. I was like, all right, man, I work the way I was trained. Yeah. I'm going to hit you. You better hit me back.
Right.
It's just still that way. First time I ever worked somebody new, even to this day, I just say, hey, listen, I don't know what you're used to, but I make contact.
That's right. Yeah.
It's how I was trained. If you fluff somebody in Killer's class, he'd get in there and hit you himself, and that was the last damn thing you wanted.
Right. Yeah.
I got my first concussion in wrestling from Killer Brooks.
Wow.
So, at the end of the show, there's a guy named Keith Lee. He was in NXT, WWE, and then he went to AEW, and he's been out for a while. He had to actually, I believe, if I'm told everything correctly, the same heart condition that killed Bray Wyatt, they found it with Keith. Post jab issues, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
Keith and I worked each other in a singles match on one of Killer's shows in Ennis, Texas, and we had some sort of deal. He had a dude that ran a garage in Waxahachie that was a big mark, and he sponsored Killer's shows, and so Killer let him ref mine and Keith's match. And so we had it set up, I pushed him during the match, and Killer got into the ring after the match and was like, I've told you you don't put your hands on my referees. And then I was like, well, how about I put my hands on you, old man? And about the time I got man through my lips, he hit me. And I kind of come to in the locker room, and he had knocked the crap out of me. I had a big goose egg on the side of my head. Yeah, so it's different out there. And I remember that about working with Lyle. You know, he told me he come in real tight. He's like, man, lighten up. So that was my
I tell you, go ahead.
all right, this is my introduction. I'm sorry, to the Carolinas was that show, and I remember, you know, indie wrestling is indie wrestling. You know, you'll have tiny venues, big venues. Most of them are half empty or more empty than half empty.
Yep.
You know, and you remember that little building Gary had, and I actually, man, I have some fond memories there because that was a small place, but God bless him, he kept the thing full. You know, I think it held 100 people maybe, but it was full every Saturday.
Right.
And you know, so I mean, I had some really good times there, and I really say, you know, coming there was really what I needed because it got me in there with guys like you. Ran into Brody Chase a couple times there. You know, got to work some different people and some guys with more experience, and just be around people with more experience, and it really helped me grow a lot more than I would have imagined.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I don't know what drew me to up there. Honestly, I don't, because I had gotten out for a long time, and I think it was getting some heat on the Regal board because we talked about that last week also. You remember the Regal board?
Massive heat on the Regal board.
Yeah.
The whole Oscar Viper, Mandy, Cycle saga, you know, and like I got drawn into it and didn't even know what happened. You know, I hated Oscar. So Oscar, honest to God, I think what happened, I think MJF went and looked on the old Regal board or got some video of Oscar or something.
Yeah.
Because Oscar was MJF before MJF was
MJF.
I don't care what anybody says.
No, that is 100% true. Oscar never ever broke character, and I got him to one time when I had the old WLBG radio. I had him actually to come down to Lawrence where the show was ran out of and do an interview with me, and he came in, of course, being Oscar, you know, and about midway through the thing, I guess he kind of loosened up a little bit. We were like in an off minute, but during a break or whatever. And I got him to break character a little bit, and he was like, "Man, this is fun, ain't it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It is." And I said, "You actually make it fun because you just don't stop." You know, and I hadn't seen that in years, bro. And he never broke that character. And what did he get hurt? I don't know. Something happened with him from what I think I heard around the way.
His neck got hurt pretty bad. I don't know to the extent. I mean, I still have his number. And occasionally we'll text, you know, but it's probably sporadic or more sporadic than you and I. He was a guy that once I met him, I loved him.
Yeah.
All the time, he reminds me more of Gino Hernandez than anyone ever has.
Yeah.
You know, thankfully, he so hard that he got him killed, but he lived that Oscar character. And I always said, you know, I wanted to work him, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because I don't think I had the gas tank to keep up with it. And I can't choreograph spot A to B, C, D. You know, I can't do that. I got to go out and work that way. And I think we would have been a contrast, a clash in styles too much. So
yeah, no, I get that. I worked, and I'm the same way. I like to have maybe a little bit of an opening and of course the finish, and we'll call the rest of it in the ring. That's kind of how we were brought up to the old way and kind of just call it in the ring. Because there were times I recall back in the way back days when you legitimately had to have separate dressing rooms. I remember we went to school one time and. I didn't even know who I was going to wrestle till we went to the ring, and I didn't know the guy. The guy was from another town or whatever, and came in, and word got through runners. You know how runners will run info. got back to who you were, who you're working and when you're going up, and that was basically it. And I said, well, we'll just call it out there. We did, and had a decent spot. But that's brother, that's unheard of nowadays. Because I remember when I was running my shows in Lawrence. Well, actually, any show you go to now, they're working out 90% of it in the back, and I'm talking about running through, the reversals and actually doing that. And I'm like, why? I never could remember any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like my mind wouldn't just hold on to that stuff to be able to retain it and then go out there and execute it. But so I definitely get that.
Yeah.
That was
I was today. I mean, I don't work a lot anymore, but like there's a guy, and I love him, man. I think he's one of the best unsigned talents, prospects, whatever, anywhere. Landon Hale was trained by Robert Gibson, trained by Hoot, and he does that. And we finally got to a point where I said, okay, man, this is all great,
yeah,
but you better call it while we're out there, because
right.
I'll get half of it.
Yeah. No, I would forget it 5 minutes after it was called. Back there, I'd be like, look, man, Lace is in our chat. And she says to tell you hello. Also, Wanda Brandt. I don't know if you know Wanda. They're some pretty good fans from locally around here. Some friends that go way back that I've known since I've been around this thing. But Lace says hello. But Brody, and I love Brody. I'd love to catch up with Brody because it's been years since I've heard anything about Brody. But he would sit, brother. When I tell you he would call these intricate, and God bless him. He could pull it off. I mean, the cat would go out there and get every spot in, but he would call these intricate openings, and then we're going to do this high spot, and then we're going to transition here, and then and it would be so much detail. And I'm like, Brody, and I would tell him, I'm like, look, man, you can keep doing this, but I'm gonna forget all this shit as soon as we walk out through the curtain. I'm not gonna remember. He's like, don't worry, kid, I'll get you through it, and he would. So God bless Brody Chase. I think we all miss Brody and his antics.
I got a funny Brody story I got to tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell it anyway.
Yeah.
In the summer of 1986, I would have been almost 11. I turned 11 that September, and on July the 4th, there was a little spot show at Silver Webster High School that's now Smoky Mountain High School, and Brody was in the main, and he was that whatever little company's champion, and I remember, he comes out so bad to the bone. He's got the belt and all that stuff, and
yep.
I was enamored from my earliest memories. I remember watching Piper get his face rubbed in the concrete by Kernodle and Slaughter and stuff on Mid-Atlantic, and that was when I was hooked. And so, there was a wrestling show in town. I found a way to get there. But at the end of it, I was always a little bit brazen, at the end of it, I just walked down because I knew the high school gym. I walked down to the locker room and banged on the door and was like, hey, I want to talk to the champ. I didn't even remember his name.
Yeah.
And like, we think you left, kid, but we'll go see if he's still here. You got to go back upstairs because walk downstairs in that old gym. You got to go back upstairs, though, sit down on the bleachers and wait. And if he's still here, we'll send him up. And I don't know, like 5-10 minutes later, Brody comes up wet. He just got out of the shower or whatever. I remember he had on shorts of some sort, a pair of flip-flops, and a button-up short sleeve shirt that he had unbuttoned about halfway down to his navel.
Yeah.
Austin Power starter kid chest hair and 3 or 4 chains, and he's like, what's up, kid? And he sat down, dude, and he was a heel that night, but he sat down and talked to me and just answered questions and was super great to me. Granted I'm 10, so he's not going to be a complete dig to me, but then he's finally like, hey man, I gotta get on the road. We got another shot coming up, and he's like, hey, make sure you watch what Worldwide Wrestling or whatever he goes. I'm supposed to wrestle Magnum TA, next week before Magnum got hurt, and Sure enough, he did, because I watched. And but it was funny because I don't know if you remember, Gary ran that. He rented that other building, Whitmire Center building, whatever it is in Hendersonville, and he had Brody on the card, and Brody worked Section 8 that night. And like, I hadn't seen Brody since I was 10 years old, but I remembered the name Brody Ray Chase.
Yeah.
You know, made an impression. And so I walk up to him in the locker room. I'm like, "You're not going to remember me, man." And I told the story in front of all the boys, And so, Brody's sitting there, and he's, kind of like got that look on his face, like, "Man, why are you telling this story?" And you know how Brody's personality is. He finally gets up and pats me on the shoulder and goes, "Well, I'm glad you got better, kid." And I'm like, "Got better?" He goes, "Well, they told me you were dying with cancer. That's the only reason I was nice to you." And he turned and walked off. And I was like, and he's walking off. He turns around, looks back at me, and grins. He's still working.
Yeah.
So that's my Brody story, man. I tell it. Anybody that I know knows Brody, I tell that story.
Yeah, Brody was he was funny, and just always had a line for everything, and it just a fun cat to be around. I remember the first time we met him, we were working for a guy named Bobby Holbrooks in Westminster, I think, and at some little armory. And Brody had been on TV, had been doing doing enhancement stuff on TV for a while at that point. And they were telling us, they were saying that Bobby Holbrook, the promoter, said, "Yeah, we're going to have a TV guy here today." And we're like, who's coming, And we've been in the business a couple 3 or 4 years at this point. And he says, "Brody Chase." And they're like, "Wow, okay, well that's kind of cool, whatever." So, we went on and started doing our thing, whatever. Well, everybody's back there getting dressed in the back, and a few minutes later, the doors, and I'm telling you, and I'm not exaggerating, it was like a movie. You know how when like these badass characters arrive and everything slows down, and they're walking, and everything, like time slows. So the doors open up, man, and there's this guy with the long blonde hair, the physique. And Brody was massive back in the day, and he's got his bag and his shades on, man, and they were like, "That is a star." And I would honestly, Randy, from that point forward, it made us change our whole outlook as to how to present yourself. Because you always heard, Ric Flair, he actually really did live the limousine life and all that stuff. But we'd never seen it in person, right? Because we hadn't been up to that level at that point. And so when Brody showed up looking like a star, that triggered something inside. I know it certainly did inside of me, to where like, oh, okay, now you gotta live this, and you gotta present yourself as this. And so that's why in later years I would always kind of crap on the guys who would get out there in front of the fans in there. Cause a lot, you've been around indie wrestling long enough to know a lot of the guys would show up straight from work, wouldn't shower, come in with grease stains still on their hands, carrying their bag and wearing their blue work shirt. And I'm like, you how am I supposed to believe you're a star if you don't even believe you're a star? So right. That was one of the lessons that we learned, early on, man, just seeing that guy walk in a room. And God bless Brody Chase. I'd love to have, maybe one the lace, maybe since you're here, maybe you can hook me up with Brody and see if he's willing to come on and talk to old Regal one more time. Randy, man, brother, it's awesome to have you here, man. You've been doing some charity stuff lately. This been catching my attention because the last 10 years I was doing anything, it was all for the sheriff's office charity that I did in Lawrence, those Christmas for Kids shows. So how'd you get involved in doing charities to work and what you got going on?
Well, man, there's a backstory. If you got a minute.
Yes, got all the time you need, brother.
You're gonna laugh. I got my kid in the truck with me. So
is that Gage?
First match, his first match is coming in May. For my company, he'll be working Jeff Connolly, a kid out of Tennessee. He had a good match with the broomstick.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. But anyway, kind of the backstory, man. I thought a lot about doing this with you, and kind of things I wanted to say and how I want to present myself. And you remember a cat that, man, I was always pushing the envelope, I was trying to piss people off, you know. Um, you know, in 2019, man, I hit a really bad low point. I was out in Texas and going through a separation, and man, I was down. When I say I was down, I mean I was bottom of the barrel. I'd had a couple buddies from the Marine Corps commit suicide. I was super depressed, probably going through a handle of vodka every couple days.
Wow.
You know, I was rooming with another worker, and he was not a good influence. Nor was I on him, by the way. It wasn't all his fault.
Sure.
Um, but there was a lot of powder around the house, and I promise you, we weren't skiing anywhere. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
And man, I was at a high point. I was in a real high, good spot run wise out there. Terry Gordy's daughter Miranda, I had started help train her. Basically, I was her tackling dummy
Mhm.
to teach. You know, she wanted to get in, and she was valeting for me. You know, and we did a show on like March the 3rd of 2019, and like, man, I was down. You know, I was booking for the company, and it was doing really well, but I was just in my head, I was in the wrong place. And you know, dude, I got it. Just being blunt, man, I got it in my mind. You know, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm out. I'm just gonna punch my own time card and call it a day. You know, so I went before the show and got a 100-foot water hose and a couple rolls of duct tape, and I had this plan in my mind that I'm a little bit vain to shoot myself, you know. So I thought I'd just, you know, tape up my truck and go to sleep, you know.
Holy cow.
So after the show, it was in an Elks Lodge out there, and then we had an after party in a bar. So I drank up my courage, you know what I mean, and started heading toward where the place where the farm where my mom used to bring me out for summers, some fish ponds, some stuff, and that's where I had it romanticized, I guess, in my head where I wanted to go and all that, and you don't know the distance, you know what I'm talking about. Some people might, but I-35 runs down um, from Fort Worth down into Johnson County, where Joshua, Texas, is at, and my vehicle started acting weird. It started kind of like it was losing power, like it would flicker. And so I got off at an exit. I coasted into a curb in a little residential area, and it died. And Ricky, when I tell you that it died, I mean, it wouldn't turn over. The lights wouldn't come on. You know, normally if a vehicle's dead, if you turn the key, the lights will come on.
Yeah.
Nothing, man. It was, you know, I'm thinking it's the alternator or the battery or something, right? So I looked at it later on. I was about 11 miles from my apartment. It was cold that particular Saturday night. um, I walked all the way back because I had drank all my money and didn't have Uber money. You know what I mean? So I walked all the way back, and by the time I got there, about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I was sober. I got in the bed and got warm and all that. I woke up, and a buddy of mine from the VFW in Grapevine, I called him. He was kind of a mechanic. His name's Ken Evanson. And I called Ken. I said, "Hey, man, this happened to my vehicle last night. Would you come out and pick me up at my place and go take a look at it for me, you know, bring a battery charge or whatever?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I'd be glad to." And so a half hour later, whatever, he gets there. And I guess he just looked at me and knew. And he says, "You know, man, you ate?" "Nope, sure hadn't." So we went to Bronze. If you've ever been out west, Bronze is kind of a big thing. It's kind of like Dairy Queen, but better. And we got breakfast and we went out, and we get out of his truck and we walk over to my vehicle, and he walks by and he looks in the back seat and sees that water hose, you know, and the 2 rolls of duct tape, and he just kind of looks at me funny, you know, and he goes, "What time did all this happen?" And I was like, "Man, it's 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning." So I remember the look on his face, Rick, like, wow, you know. He goes, "Do me a favor." He says, "Get in the vehicle and turn the key for me." And I'm like, Ken, buddy, you know, I told you, you know, and he kind of got frustrated with me. He said, just get in there and turn the key, you know. So I did, and it turned right over, cranked. I put the window down, and I was like, man, it was dead last night. He goes, I don't doubt it. And he looked back at the back seat again, and he reached through and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he's kind of emotional. He goes, Chad, God's not done with you yet. And I've never had a more profound moment in my life, you know, that was directional for me. And it was, I need to get my shit together moment. And I went back to the apartment and I started. I've always come home back to North Carolina when I was at my low points. And I thought if I can get home, I'll be okay. You know what I mean? And it still took several years. I mean, it was post COVID before I really got my act together, you know. But I remember that moment. And what I didn't know, Ricky, and this is the crazy part, is that night at 2 o'clock in the morning, Ken's wife woke him up and said, "We need to pray for Chad." And they have what they call a war room, which is a little prayer closet in their house. And they went in there and prayed for me all night until about 6 o'clock in the morning, which, if you remember, was when I got back to my apartment. Um, and you know, I believe. I mean, I'm not. I'm not somebody that's going to beat somebody over the head with the Bible, but I will tell you, I know, you know, my relationship with God now and what it is, and that's, you know, you asked me how I got into things. Well, that's where it started. I moved home and I was missing it and wanted to wrestle, and I met Cole Maccabee and started working his pro wrestling union shows and things, and I worked around a few other little places here and there. And I remember having a conversation with my Aunt Patsy, and you know, people don't know her. She spent 20 years in the mission field in Honduras. Literally got shot in the back of the head behind her ear, and it came out her cheek by road pirates down there. And she told me, she goes, why don't you use wrestling to help people, to tell people about God, to tell them your story? And I, you know, man, I'm a lot like, or I was a lot like Thomas and a few other people when it come to mixing religion and wrestling. You know, I've always looked at guys and thought, oh, it's a work. Yes. Oh, they're just, you know, they're just trying to make money on it. And I've tried really hard to distance myself from that. Um, that's why I don't give myself a payday. I don't even handle the money, Ricky. When money comes in the door, my mother-in-law and a lady from the Department of Juvenile Justice handle all the money. They count it. The lady from the Department of Juvenile Justice, Beth James, she's on the bank account for H2L Ministries. She takes it, deposits it, gets me a cashier's check, then it goes to the charity. I won't touch a dollar. I've watched too many guys get themselves in trouble that way. Yep. And I don't want to give even the slightest hint that I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm doing, you know. And so what we did is I'd ran a couple shows, but they were charity based, but they weren't spiritual based. There wasn't a religious aspect to it, right? And so right after COVID, we ran one for a company. It's a all women's rehab, faith based rehab in Jackson County, called Life Challenge. And we ran a show as a fundraiser for them called, we titled it Wrestling with Life's Challenges. And it was the first time that we did a message of any kind. You know what I mean? Like spiritual message. And my pastor, his name's Josh Hyde from the Bridge Church in Cullowhee, he came out and I kind of told the story I just told you. And then Josh tagged in, as he says, and did it. And I tagged with James Drake that night against the Heat Seekers, if you know who Matt Sigmund and Elliot Russell are. Yeah. And we tagged against them, and And at the end of the message, me and Drake were still standing in the ring with Josh. And, he just basically, he gave his message, and he, the whole every head bowed, every eye closed thing. He said, he basically, if you never accepted Christ, say this prayer. And he kind of walked people through it. And he said, if you prayed that prayer and you really, count of three, I want you to stand up. And, I was standing there beside Drake and kind of I literally had my head on his shoulder because it's been a really emotional time. And I won't go into all the details, but when I talk about the devil trying to stop a show, Ricky, even the guy on the show on Saturday, on Friday night or Friday morning, the guy that I was renting the ring from had a stroke. And I had to find a ring that night. Because you know what death knell to an indie company is canceling the weekend of, right? I, I I had to find a ring. So anyway, the Lord found me a ring. Is all I can tell you. I remember standing there because of all the adversity and everything with this show that I went through, and just praying, God, if this is really what you want me to do, give me one. Show me this is what you need. And when Josh counted to three, Ricky, I initially thought people were leaving.
Mm.
Uh, I looked up, and 36 people had stood up. And then another 35 stood up who had rededicated. So 70 some odd people, you know. Um, but I'll never forget that 36 people accepted Christ that first show. And since that one, running twice a year, we've had 126 people accept Christ. So, we always do a message. Like I say, I hear the negativity about it. Keep religion out of wrestling. Well, Ricky, man, my Bible tells me to do all I do for the glory of God. And John 3:30, you may not be familiar with that verse, but it says, "He must increase, but I must decrease." What that's telling me is to put God first in everything I do. And to me, that's really been my lifeline for wrestling the last 5 years, because I really don't know if I would even be here. I guarantee I wouldn't be here if it weren't for God and the people He put in my life and the choices He helped me to make. Like I said, my kid's sitting in the truck. My relationship with him is where it is now because of God. It wasn't because of me, because anybody that knows that story knows that I was not a quarter till being a father to him, or my older two kids for that matter either. And now my daughter, she'll be 24 in December. She's one of my best friends in the world, and all that started the morning after I woke up and Ken came and picked me up, you know. So as far as what we do though, to transition over to that, man, um, I kind of took a page out of your playbook. I've always followed you, and you've always been someone I've looked up to and I've learned from, and I've always took everything you said to heart. I watched what you did with Christmas for Kids, and I got with our local sheriff's department. In October, we run our Shop with the Cop show, and all the money goes to the Shop with the Cop program with the sheriff's department. In the May, we bounced around charities for a little bit, and then I got kind of bored with doing the same thing. So I had a teacher when I was a kid named Barbara Hardesty, Mrs. Hardesty, that had a huge. I didn't. We didn't have a lot when I was a kid, and I'll just say that she put a lot of her own time and her own money into me, and I never really forgot that. So I started a scholarship at Southwestern Community College, a trade scholarship in her memory, and our May event pays for that. So, like I said, I don't touch money, but I also make money. My wife, she, with me, she would tell me to tell you that I spend money. I pay for the graphic work and the poster printing and all that out of my own pocket. I'm kind of a self-sponsor, I guess, right? And then I community sponsors, community businesses to cover the rest of my overhead, building rental, payroll. You know, I pay everybody right down to the people that set the ring up and tear it down. Everybody gets paid something because that whole working for free thing,
Yeah.
and rock. And the first thing I'll think of when somebody says benefits show, so I'm not paying anybody, is like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we do. Why we do it. The first principle, the number one thing for us is to tell people about Christ, just to plant seeds, because here's a story about that first show I told you about with the 36 people. At the base of Cowie Mountain going toward Franklin, North Carolina, there's a tire shop called High Country Tire. And there's a guy in there. You'd have to know the story here, but the High Country Tire owners are part of Victory Baptist Church right up the road. And, they had invited that guy. He was working in their tire shop for 4 or 5 years. They had invited him to church every week, and he had never went. He brought his wife and 3 kids to the wrestling show, right? All 5 of them accepted Christ together at the same time. And then they plugged into a local church with another pastor who was there. So even if someone doesn't make a decision, like, to me, it's important to just plant that seed, tell them, hey, because I can tell people I was ready to punch out, and since I moved home, man, my life is done. I mean, my kid's sitting here, he knows, he watched it happen. I met my wife. I'd never been in a healthy relationship before. I didn't know what it looked like. What in the quarter, I didn't. And sometimes I still don't understand. She's happy to tell me where I'm wrong. And those of us,
Yeah.
but, Lord put her in my path. And, I've got 3 amazing stepsons. I got a 10-year-old stepson that, him and like my super sidekicks, So, like, God took my life at its worst because I submitted, built it back up. I'm like a lot of guys, we all got into this business with stars and dollar signs in our eyes, right?
Yeah.
And there was a time period there where I was self-convinced that Vince was calling me any day, all 190.
Yeah. Right.
And if I have a knock on anybody in Indies right now, I see that in every kid out there, and you and I both know that 99 out of 100 are never going to get that call, even to go do enhancement work.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And part of that is because we let too many people in business that need to be on the other side of the rail, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't believe in regrets, man. But if I regret anything in my life, I regret not turning my life over to the Lord sooner and using wrestling for Him sooner. Because I think about all the people I've impacted since October of 2004.
Yeah.
That I could have planted those seeds for. I'll take it a step further than that. Since December of 2012, I've had 19 guys that I served with in the Marine Corps pass away. 13 of those have been suicides. I can tell you, I never told any of them about Jesus.
Yeah.
That weighs on me.
Yeah.
The people that I didn't tell about my faith, my life. So, I imagine that there are a few people that saw you post Randy Wayne's coming on my podcast, and they were expecting something completely different than what they got.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be doing right if I didn't tell you what I just told you, And I mean, my kid's in the truck. He keeps me honest more than anybody when it comes to my faith, Yeah. So I appreciate the platform, though, and you letting me tell that and asking the right question to open the door for me. And I don't want to eat this whole thing up. I know you've got other stuff you want to talk about. So,
well, no, look, I didn't know. I didn't know you were going to tell that story. Thank God you did. I mean, that is something I didn't know. And that's sharing that testimony, man. That's heavy, bro. I mean, that's really heavy. And of course, you always look back and you say, well, what if, and I know there have been times that, and I'm as guilty as anybody, man. I'll get texts or phone calls, and I'll return that later, or I'll give him a call later and stuff, and you just never know when somebody's going through it, bro, and so that's that I get it, and but I thank God you that car turned off is all I can say, because it certainly made a difference that I can see in you, certainly, and a difference in what you've been doing professionally since then. So that's big. That's a big deal, man. And God bless you for taking that and turning it into something, and it just not falling back into that area to where it may could have gone the other way. So that's big, and it's big of you to share that. So I appreciate it. I'm sure those watching do, and that's that, and it's to take that and turn it into something to where you, like you said, you've actually bringing to establish a relationship with God or whatever they want to call it. I mean, that's huge, man, and I respect you for that big time. I respect you before. We've been friends a long time, but I didn't know you were going to tell that. I didn't know that was what had been going on with you, but that's a big thing, man, and I greatly appreciate you sharing that here on this platform, because that means a lot to me.
No problem, man. I'm glad. Again, I'm thankful for the platform, and when you messaged me, I said yes, and then I was like, man, I should have prayed about this first. I just prayed about it.
Yeah.
I've got another mutual friend of ours that even reached out to me about coming on and things, and how sometimes these things can turn negative.
Yeah.
Ken Magnum, Ken Dotson.
Yeah.
I would safely say, man, that Ken has become one of my true best friends in his life.
Yeah.
And that is no small miracle on God's part either, given our history and the heat that, I never really had heat with Ken. He had a lot of heat with me, and it was deserved, but, to say that Ken and I were where we once were, and we both come forward in our relationship with God and forgiveness and things, and now we're as close as we are. Ken, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, man, I see you're on the Regal podcast." And I was like, "Yeah." And I told him, I had some anxieties and stuff, because I don't want to get. Man, I just don't care for the negativity and the stuff, and things. I know my place in the business now. I know what my shtick is. I know what I'm called to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And if people don't like it, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I never was.
Yeah.
But I know in my heart I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and the peace. Let me tell you this. This is something I say. I put it on Facebook. I tell people this all the time. I never had peace in my heart, Ricky, until the last several years. And that peace comes through Christ. And I will tell you what I've learned in my life, man. You will never find peace like this in a bottle or in a pill.
Yeah.
And believe me, I tried.
Yeah.
I tried as hard as anybody to live that, I guess, rock and roll type lifestyle, and women and drugs and alcohol. And
sure. Yeah.
Man, I just about lost all three of my kids over it.
Yeah.
I damaged relationships that probably will never be repaired, because not everybody's as forgiving as Ken and a few others. I damaged relationships with family that they still, they'll talk to me, but
yeah,
it is what it is, man. And so, and I don't want to keep beating this, to death. You get the point. I'm sure everybody else does. But, coming up May 3rd? May 2nd. That's why my kid's in the car. I've been hitting the head a lot. May the 2nd, National Guard Armoring. We're doing Building Tomorrow, Volume 2. I sent you the poster.
Yep, got it right here.
The fundraiser for the scholarship that we started in Mrs. Hardesty's name. And like I said, I'm excited. My kid's first match is that show. He was going to work with Adam Jackson, if you remember Adam.
Yeah.
And Adam Adam, after Nick Fury broke his neck, it hit Adam, and he decided he was done. He didn't want to risk injury. And I understand, respect what he's saying. He's like, man, an injury like that is going to not only affect my life, but my entire family's life.
That's
and
right.
Their livelihood.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, dude, I get it. So being the booker, one thing I'm good at is contingency plans, and you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be able to book on the fly.
That's right.
Especially when you start the show 6 months out or
Yeah.
more. So Jeff's gonna work with Gage, and I'm excited about that. I took Gage last year to Wrestling for the Kingdom camp with Matt Sigmund and Les Thatcher and a couple other guys, and we got an Airbnb and spent the weekend there. Worked out, all day for 3 days, and he got the itch then too. So here we are.
Yeah.
Which you would have just anticipated that was going to happen with parents. So, but that's going to be a great match, I think, and dad, it's going to be great for me to watch at least. And main event, if you know who the Stew Crew are, they're teaming with Landon Hale against Crucifix, Ken Magnum, and his son Xander. And then we've got Don Furio and Sean Cruz and Amber Rose and CeCe Young is our ladies match, and then we're going to tie it all up to there. And then in October, there's a guest spot for you if you want it. We talked about it a little bit. I'm going to call you out publicly. We need a guest referee that can be an enforcer. And people actually take seriously. I figure, you're the guy. I'm not going to let up on that. So you might as well just say yes. And we'll go from there. That's kind of what we got going on right now. And then April 11th, another project through H2L Ministries that is dear to my heart is we do a 22K ruck in memory of those that we've lost to suicide. I kind of touched on that, and a lot of people are unaware of some of the statistics, man. But 17 and a half to 18 veterans commit suicide in this country every day.
Yeah.
Veteran suicide under the age of 45 makes up over 60% of suicides in this country. Even more so than that, it's like 70 some odd percent, if I remember correctly. We're not receiving any kind of treatment from the VA the year they took their own life. Because the VA is such a cluster. I mean, I'm in claim now. I've been in the claim for 7 years. When they finally approve it, and they have to pay me back to the date I filed the claim. Mm-hmm. So I have 7 years of back pay, which is ridiculous, But anyway, that's coming up on April 11th there in Silva, and you got the recruiting offices bringing their delayed entry program kids. The National Guard's going to be involved. I'm a member of the Jackson County Veterans Organization. They're going to be involved. Sheriff Department's helping out with it. Rescue Squad's helping out. They're going to give us a little safety vehicle because I'm going to be up front. I'm going to try and bust hearts. So, but no, I'm trying to think of anything else, man, I can plug right now. That's pretty much it,
Well, man, that's really awesome. And I get where Ken's coming from. I think a lot of Ken too. I think Ken Magnum is a good guy, and I appreciate what he does. I get where he's coming from. I didn't, and let me just be clear about this since you brought it up. I did not start this for it to be a negative thing. Like I have always been opinionated. I mean, you know that from our first meeting. And I try not. I've tried to temper that over the years and just call out the bad, but also acknowledge the good. And of course, as I mean, I had Thomas on last week, and Thomas is Thomas. I mean, everybody knows that. And I prefaced his thing by saying, hey, look, you either love this guy or you hate this guy. There is no in between. And I stand by that. And of course, he'll say some things, and I even said in that, look, they're his opinions, and he's entitled to them. And then that's the thing about this is it's not to be a negative thing at all. I want it to be positive. I want it to shine a light on people like you, who have been up and down both sides of this thing. And and going forward, being just that, just have you on to tell your story. That's all this is. Look, we're all storytellers. If you think about it, that's what wrestling is, right? You're telling a story, and you,
Well,
my friend, have
some
have
of us wrestle that way. A lot of us don't. So
say
I
that
said
again. I'm
some
sorry.
of us wrestle. I said some of us wrestle that way. A lot of us don't, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So,
no, boy, that's true. But I'm talking about us who kind of get it and have been around. But there are things that are negative that's out here, and things that you just have to either ignore. And I don't think we would be doing the business that I still love any justice by ignoring some of the stuff that's out there that just needs to be called out. I don't know that it'll make a difference, but it'll at least bring some light to it. And I don't know. I told Thomas last week, and I don't. My opinion remains. I don't know that this will ever be what it once was. I don't know how it could be. You know what I mean? I mean,
no.
it's changed so much, and too many people have been, like you said a few minutes ago, have been allowed to cross from fan to wrestler and not been given the proper tools to do so. It is what it is. I don't know that it could ever be what it once was, but that's why old people like us are around, so that we can, like I said last week, we can shake our fists at the sky and why, that type of thing, But man, it's huge. God bless you what you're doing, man. I think what you're doing is fantastic. From having sit in a position of running charity events, you're doing it right. I would just tell you, you're doing it right. I never took a payday for any of those events I did. And it's no secret, I was working for the sheriff's office that was running those events at the time. And we would put hours and hours and hours after work into putting that building together, booking talent, doing radio, doing TV, doing all of this stuff. And Randy, as I sit here, I can tell you, honestly, I never took a dime for any of that. Never took a dime for it because it just wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want me to be tied to, okay, well, you just get money off of this. No, man. I never took a dime for any of that stuff. And I'm going to tell you something later in the show that the reason I've lost friends, years long friends, decades long friends, bro, is because of money. And this shouldn't be about that when you're doing it for charity. I always wanted those things to be events. I wanted to be a can't miss event. And we packed. You were at a couple of them. We packed those houses to the point to where I wanted it to be not only for the fans of the best show of the year, the event of the year, but I wanted it to be for the guys who came in and worked it, because I wanted them to. This is special. This is different. It's just not another Friday night show. And so that's why I say, I mean, you're doing yours as an event. You're doing it right, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and I think you will have big success that you don't even know is coming yet. So I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you really for picking up the torch of that, because a lot of people don't do that, and if they do it, they're not doing it for the right reason. So
absolutely.
So I appreciate you for that most certainly.
Like,
Randy,
real quick,
yeah,
real, I'm going to interject here.
Yep.
You said something, you love Thomas or you hate Thomas. I love Thomas to death. And there was a time in my life where I would have fed into that and probably threw gas on his fire.
Right.
I don't see anything positive coming out of it. I don't, like you said, this business is never going to be what it was in the 80s when you were in it.
Right.
It's not even going to be what it was in the early 2000s when I got into it.
Right.
It is. This is one of the things where it's sad sometimes when you see the older guys, because they can't evolve, or they won't evolve. And if you're going to stay in the business and continue to love it and not become bitter and angry and hateful, you've got to evolve with it and understand that it's going to change.
Yeah.
It's going to. And, Vince pulled the curtain back and told everybody it was work.
Yeah.
So the business had to evolve from there. And I'll say there's things I don't like. I don't like looking at a poster, and this happens 9 out of 10 posters I look at, and I'm looking at everybody on the thing, and I'm like, there's not one of them there that physically intimidates me that if
Right.
we get into a on the ground, me putting my thumb through your eye socket fight,
Right.
that I can't take, right?
Right.
And that's the thing about guys in the old school. You believed them.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
when I met Brody Ray Chase, like you said, he was jacked up, built like a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I firmly would have thought he could have walked through about any bar he walked into and protect the integrity of the business on his way out the door.
Certainly.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's where that's missing. Yeah, Vince told everybody that it's a work, but you don't have to just lay down and die on it. You can still suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that Killer taught us, and I try to maintain that to this day. He would say, you know, people come, they know, they at least know there's something about it. He said, you know, and they might watch matches 1 through 3, and then I'm on 4th, and then 5 and 6, and he say, all those guys out there, that was fake, but that match number 4,
Yeah.
those two guys were really mad.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to, every time I step in there, I'm in there to try to make you believe, because Johnny Valentine said it better than anybody. I can't make you believe wrestling's real, but I can damn sure make you believe I am.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, you get that's I just, man, I don't even go on the Randy Wayne page. I'm glad you sent me a text message and instead of trying to message me there, because you probably would have heard from me next year when I get on it again.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the patience to go through and delete a bunch of the people that are on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like seeing garbage posters and garbage promotions and garbage promoters. And it's negative, and I just like to stay in my own little bubble as Chad Jones and play Randy Wayne twice a year now.
That's
you know, and I mean, you know, I'm actually kind of like hyped up now, working on getting like back into bullet shape, because you know, Gage is coming in. I want to do a little tag run with him.
Sure.
I want to get a match with Ken and his kid against me and mine, or a string of matches for that. And then I want to be done and just move behind the curtain, because at 50, my bump card's probably about punched out, you know. So I wanted to say that, though. It wasn't anything about, I didn't even watch you and Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear all the ramifications and all the crowing on Facebook and all the feelings that got hurt and everything. I heard all about it. You know, I even got text messages. Did you watch this? Can you believe it? It's Thomas. Of course I believe you said it.
Right. Yeah.
Who are you trying to?
Yeah. I mean, I mean that.
But I'm with you. I feel like we take what we do, and we however we portray ourselves, you know, whether it's good or bad. And I spent so many years being the bad guy,
right,
and trying to live that, not as good as Oscar, but I tried real hard.
Yeah.
And I did, you know, it's more important to me now that I present myself as Christ-like as I can. And, you know, because that's, you know, I'm sure there's guys out there that use religion as part of their work, but that ain't me. Yeah. You know, I know what's in my heart, what's real. And so that's why, you know, I brought that up, because I just wanted this to be something really positive. You know, maybe, you know, you're going to get guys that are going to get on there and they're going to feel a certain way and they're going to express their opinion. And that's why we live in the United States, because we're allowed to do that.
Right. That's right.
And that's cool. You know, you're not going to get stoned to death because you voice your opinion here. You may get stoned, metaphorically stoned to death on social media by the cancel culture.
That's right.
But, you know, you're really not going to take any physical damage. But dude, I love the fact that you're back in some capacity, and talk about wrestling evolving. How about Regalwood is evolved from a message board.
That's right.
20 some years ago, that was nothing but a bunch of smack talk, you know, and drama, you know, and now you've got this platform where it's video, you know, you think everything evolves, man, wrestling included. And I think this is really cool. I'm glad you're back involved. It's funny because I was thinking about, who could I get as a ref? And you popped in my head, and I texted you randomly. I hadn't texted you in a year
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
And, you give me your answer, which I didn't accept. And I definitely don't accept it now that you're in here doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you said something to me in that text, and I'm going to correct you. Normally, I wouldn't even try to correct you, Ricky, but you said your time has passed and you weren't relevant. I disagree. If guys like you and now guys like Ken and I's age and stuff, if we don't spend time with these kids coming up, and hey, they don't have to listen and apply it. But if we don't do our due diligence and try to make a difference, it's like if you don't vote, don't complain.
Yeah.
If you're not going to spend the time in this business and try to influence the next generation, I don't want to hear a word out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this is cool that you're on here, that you're doing this, to give you your flowers. I think this could be a huge tool toward steering some young guys in the right direction who maybe don't have good influence or any influence at all. So,
well, look,
that's just my.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not used to taking compliments, so but I do appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. Look, I've always enjoyed talking about wrestling, and I'm with you. I'm a couple of years your senior, so my bump card has definitely been punched, right? But I still enjoy talking about it. I still enjoy the creative part of it. And when I was a lot of people don't know, most of those shows I didn't book the talent, but once the talent was there, I handled a lot of the writing of how some of that stuff went, especially all the stuff that I was involved in with Ricky Chastain and the media and all of that stuff. So that's the part that I really, really enjoy doing, man, is that end of it. So I will hopefully try to be involved in some way, shape, or form with that at some point. So this is kind of like a bridge between being there hands-on and kind of just still being connected in some kind of way, small or large. And this is nothing right now. I mean, I don't expect this to turn into anything, but it's fun to talk to friends that I haven't spoken to in a while. It's fun to get in and hear stories like yours that I've never heard and quite frankly kind of touched me. And so yes, it's cool to catch up and it's cool to reminisce. And we were talking about Brody earlier, stuff like that, man. So I'll this is in no way, and I hope that's not what. I know somebody got their feelings hurt behind a throwaway line that Thomas said last week, and I didn't even catch it. And we're talking about Dion, since Dion says nobody calls his name. We're talking about Dion. I don't know why. I didn't even know why Dion was upset, right? And it was kind of, and I missed it. And I'm sitting in the room like where you and I are right now, and I heard every word Thomas said, but I didn't hear that, or if I did hear it, it didn't register that that's what he was talking about. But it was never. Nobody went in with the intention of taking shots at anybody. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more at the end of the show. This is not by any means, and please let Ken know, this is not by any means set to be any kind of negativity thing. We're not out here to crap on anybody. We're just here to talk wrestling. Something that we all still love, even in its weird form that it's in, right? We still enjoy it. We still love it. Man, I just want to extend my heartfelt thanks and appreciation for you coming on here today and sharing your story. And man, God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Like I say, you're doing it right. You're doing it for the right reasons, and nobody can fault that. There's going to be naysayers no matter what you do, but hey, they got their torches to bear just like we do, right? Randy Wayne, everybody. Hey, man, again, thank you so much. Really quickly before I let you go, let me get this back up here. Got the big event coming up, and tell me that date again, Randy. I got the poster here. I'm trying to. May 2nd?
May 2nd, yeah.
May 2nd, 2026 is the Silver National Guard Armory Building Tomorrow, Volume 2. packed card, stacked card right there. Got ladies matches. Got where's your boy James? James on it. He's not on this one.
Drake.
Yeah.
He's busy putting people over in AEW.
Okay. All right. Good for him. I
That,
haven't.
that was a bang bang.
Putting him over.
You'll love this. That match that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where we wrestled heat stickers. We were in the back, and he was hitting at AEW, and I was like, we were putting those guys over, and I said, hey man, I'll take the pin. You've been doing it enough on TV lately. He just looked, but he's got the best attitude about it. But no, he's man, he's hard to book, dude, and not because he wouldn't work for us. I mean, he's worked for us a lot, but he was hurt for a while, and then man, he's just always booked. I mean, he's contracted with Tony now and AEW, so. Good. It's cool to say, hey, man, I broke in with this guy. We were a little tag team called the Violence Party at one point,
Yeah. Good for Drake, man. He was always a good hand, and I always give him a hard time about his ears when he would come do my shows for me and stuff. But it was, it ain't like I was the first, right? So, but good for him, man. So you got before your event in May, you got a big one, your 22K ruck hike for hope on the April 11th. And that'll be in Silva. Yep. Also, you're going to formation at 8:30 and step off at 9. And how long does that thing usually run? 22K is what?
About at 14 miles.
14 miles. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that takes a good bit of the day, I imagine, for some. Probably not for you.
Well, I'm 50. I'm not, not 25 and then active duty doing it every week now, but.
Right.
While to do. The last time I did it, I did about 4.5, 5 hours, the exact route that I'm taking these guys on. And I'll carry, my rucksack will have 50 pounds in it, and then rucks aren't required, but encouraged,
Yeah.
And, know your limitations. Don't step off with a bunch of weight on that you can't handle.
Yeah.
And gas out on me in 5 miles. So,
right.
But yeah, I tell you what, I got my kid in the truck. He's been super patient.
Yeah.
But we're sitting outside. We're going to go lift some heavy stuff.
So, Lace wanted to make sure that she knew, Gage knew that she said hello to him. She says in her mind, she's in the comments here, she says in her mind he's still 10 years old. So make sure Gage gets that message from Lace.
Tell Lace I will message her with some Gage stories.
Yeah.
Post haste. Not 10 years old anymore.
There you go, man. Thank you so much again. I do appreciate you, man. Don't hurt yourself in that gym. I know I like to do gym drive-bys now at my age. You know what I'm saying? So, but thank you again, Randy Wayne, man. I appreciate you. You are a blessing, and keep doing what you're doing. And if old Regal can help you out down the road, just give me a shout, okay, brother?
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. That's Randy Wayne, friends. Great guy, great friend. I appreciate him coming on. I was not expecting that testimony that he gave me here today, but man, that was powerful stuff. And thank him for his story. Tell you what, we've gone over. We're about an hour and a half now, so I'm gonna take a quick break. All right. Going to give everybody a chance to go and fill up their cups, maybe take a little potty break. I've got to let my dog out because he's been showing out for the last 5 minutes. Give me a good 3 minutes. We'll come back. We'll pick it up. We'll finish the show, and we'll close things out here. Coming up next, right here on Regalwood Rasslin. All right, we're back. That was good, man. Thanks. Hey, give it up for Randy Wayne. That was awesome. I appreciate him coming on. I appreciate his message. You know, look, man, some folks will think what they're going to think. Everybody knows there's been guys who's get into the religion and the wrestling, and there have been. It's documented, right? There's been people out there who's used it as a work. Big names. But when it comes to people like Nikita, Magnum TA, Lex Luger, even though, all he's been through, I believe those guys are legit, and I believe Randy Wayne's legit. I just do. Randy's always been straight with me. He's always been a straight shooter. He's always been one to be, factual. And so I 100% believe that he's in it for the right reasons. He's doing it for the right reasons. He's doing it the right way. So big ups to Randy Wayne for that. But let me be perfectly clear here. Let there be no misunderstanding. Turn the music off. Band. If you ever get into this business, what I'm doing now with the shows, if get a band like mine, I mean they are tip top. They are Johnny on the spot every time. Like, watch this. Hit it, band. No, they don't. There's no hesitation. They're just like, bam, right there. I'm like, tell them to cut. I mean, it's insane. If I could hire a producer with as much skill as that band, one more time, hit it. I mean, some of the songs are a little weird, like this one. Next tune, look at that. Just right into the next song. Prepared and ready to go. If I could ever find a producer that was that Johnny on the spot, I might consider hiring him. All right, but cut it just for a minute. Let me be crystal clear here. I don't want to leave any room for any misinterpretation, okay? And it didn't upset me, but it touched a nerve when Randy said that people thought it may have been some negativity. This is not what I have in mind when I started this show. It's also not what I had in mind when I started the Regal board. Okay? The Regal board was nothing. It was a cast off. It was something. It was a message board. Listen, and I'll tell you this whole story someday in the future, but it started off with me. There used to be this thing called MSN communities, Microsoft Network Communities. And this is going way back, early back, 97, 8, 9, 97, 8, 9, somewhere along in there. There was a thing called Microsoft Communities. And just like this, I started off a wrestling board, message board, little place where I could basically just talk about wrestling. And some of the local folks that I ran around with at the time, they would get on there and they would read some of the stuff that I would post. Well, some things happened, and this is I'll have Thomas on again in the future, and he and I can kind of recount that whole story, because that's where the he and I, or his and I heat actually started way back then. And it was ugly. It to the point that it got my MSN board taken down. Meltzer got involved. It was some crazy. A lot of you don't know this. So this is some behind the scene, way behind the scenes stuff that I've never talked about publicly ever. I've never written about it. I've never talked about it. It's never come up. But there was some stuff that happened with Thomas, and I think Dave Meltzer somehow was involved. And anyway, the MSN board went away. So out of that was born the Regal board. But before the Regal board came, there was RickyRegal.com. And that's what I showed you last week on the Wayback Machine, was the RickyRegal.com page, which was basically me and Robbie Boyette and a couple other people got on, and we're just going to write stories. Just write wrestling tales. Just tell wrestling tales. And out of that was born just this cast-off message board where you people could go in and comment on what ostensibly were to comment on what the writings were that we were doing. It was not meant to be anything more than that. And it took a life upon itself. It morphed into something that nobody could control. And I would even come on as the name of the board, as Ricky Regal of the Regal board. I would come on and be like, hey, look, guys, some of this is knock it off. And I might as well have been singing, talking to a brick wall. Because it took on a life of its own, and it morphed into something else, and then it became something else, and then there were fights come out of it, and people were getting beat up, and there was threats, and there was this, and there was that, and it was like, and I said it last week, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it until the end of time. I did not want that to be the legacy of this name, Ricky Regal. I didn't want it to be, oh, look, that was what it was, and it became this terrible thing. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't all bad, but there was some bad there, and there was some bad actors there, and there were some people there who did some things they had no business doing, and it became I just didn't want to be I didn't want to be a part of it, right? And so as time went on, it kind of petered out, and then it was gone. And that's why I said to those of you who know, last week when I showed the pictures of that thing, it can have visceral reactions. But I said all that to say this. This show, this Regalwood Rasslin, is not going to be a negative Nelly show. It's not going to be crapping on everything. It's not going to be, shooting on things and everything's bad and everything's terrible and everything sucks. I don't believe that. And I'll give you a perfect example of why I don't believe that. Now, I told you last week, and I don't watch wrestling. I don't watch the WWE shows. I don't have. God bless anybody who has 3 hours to commit to that on Monday nights. God bless you. Enjoy, but I can't, man. I just can't. But I do see clips and I see things that I like. And I was going to talk about. I know I'm all over the place. I don't write these shows, okay? And I actually I wrote out a little format that I wanted to stick to today, but with Randy having a little bit of trouble getting in at the start, I wanted to go ahead and make sure we got him in and got his interview done. And so that's why I didn't have an opening. I had planned on talking about some WWE stuff. I had planned on doing another Regal's Reality flashback, and I was going to address some of the fallout from last week. And I'm still going to do that here in just a minute. Not all of that, but the fallout from last week certainly. But I don't crap on everything, and I never have everything, right? The stuff that deserves it, I feel like deserves it. But it's just an example of some of the new stuff I like. I'm a mark for Danhausen. I didn't think I was going to like it. I thought it was going to be stupid. I thought it was going to be ignorant and dumb. But I went down a Danhausen rabbit hole on the internet the other day, just watching some of his old stuff and some of the stuff he's doing. I'm enjoying that, and I'm feeling like I kind of want to make sure I catch at least his segments on the Mondays. I guess, are they still doing SmackDown on Thursday? Friday? I don't know. Whenever SmackDown comes on, I'm kind of interested because I know he's going between the both shows now. But I am a fan of Danhausen. I mean, he's funny. He gets his character. He understands what his place is. And he is getting that thing over in spite of itself. That should have never got over in 2026 in the WWE. But it's huge. It's getting the loudest pops of the night when he appears. I love the way he just appears. When he's standing there and with his eyes open and his hands doing that Nosferatu thing, the walks that he understands his character. And that's the beauty of something that you create yourself, right? That's the beauty. Ricky Regal I created to kind of be like just to be like this smart ass who thinks he's always right and is always fighting for what he believes is the right thing, but always gets his comeuppance at the end. I never in 10 years of doing those Christmas for Kids shows won a match. But I remain the most over heel on the show. I never won a match. Never. I'm 0-10. I'm 0 and 10 in Christmas for Kids shows. I'm the reverse Undertaker, right? I'm the reverse. I'm the anti-under. How about that? I'm 0 and 10 on Christmas shows, and actually more than that because we did a couple of summer shows in there too that I lost on. So I'm probably 0 and I guess 14. When it comes to those charity events in Lawrence. But you know what? I stayed over, right? And I continued to push that agenda that I was selling. So I get my character. I know what my place is. And Danhausen, to his credit, man, he's a little guy, but he's a big personality, and I'm enjoying his work, and I think it's fantastic. So I'm not here to crap on all the new stuff and my day was so much better. This is not what this is about. This is not what Regalwood Rasslin is about. Okay, it's not. It's about getting friends on here, getting maybe even in some cases in the future, depending on how things go, some not so good friends anymore on here. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. This is a work in progress. This is episode 2. If you count 0, this is the third one of these I've done. Right? So this is a work in progress. I may get to where I have to write some things just to make sure I stay within a format. I wanted to start the show today by talking about us losing Dennis Condrey. 10 bells to Dennis Condrey, man. I was always I loved the Heels when I was growing up. I always loved the Heels. So I was a Midnight Express fan. I loved the Midnight Express with the work he did with Bobby and Cornette was just great. And of course, Stan Lane came later, but loved that stuff. And it was tragic to hear how he passed from a fall in his house, and just a few days from his wife's retirement. Just tragic stuff, and I hate that for him and his family. But 10 bells to Dennis Condrey, the lover boy there, and Cornette I could never touch anything Cornette has ever done or will ever do. So if you want to hear the story and some stories of Cornette and Condrey and all that, go check out Jim Cornette's podcast where he I think he even recounts what happened and everything. Is one of his latest shows. So yeah, but 10 bells to him. 10 bells to Chuck Norris, who passed away also. 2 badasses leaving us in the same week. One of my friends at my shoot job was like, "Man, we have no hope now that Chuck's gone. Who's going to protect us from the evils that are out there?" Because Chuck would stand against it all. But we lost Chuck Norris too, and that kind of has a wrestling connection where he was involved in one of the wrestling with WWE at one point. I think he gave somebody a kick. That's online. I actually saw that the other day. So 10 bells to Chuck Norris, man. Another legend gone way too soon. I'm not gonna do a Regal's reality because we're coming up on 2 hours, and these were never meant to be to be this long. But I did want to address the fallout from last week's show. All right, this is what some of you have been waiting for. This is what some of you have been wanting me to discuss and talk about. And I'm not going to go into any ugliness because it's 10 years out. All right, it's 10 years from the last Christmas for Kids show, and on that show, I lost 2 friends. I'll just be honest. I lost 2 friends. They may not even realize it. I think they should because they know what they did. And it hurt. I'm not gonna say it broke my heart, but it hurt me because I considered these to be really good friends. And I'm not. It doesn't matter what happened. That they know what happened, and I know what happened, and they probably have their version of it, and I probably have my version of it. But I have, I miss catching up, especially with one of them, because one of them I really did consider a friend. And he never, and I'm talking about you, Dion, okay? You said nobody would call your name. I'm going to call your name. I'm talking about you. You and I had a disagreement on that last day of that last show, the day of the show, if you recall, because I do. And it kind of fractured our relationship, at least on my end. It's stuff like that is tough to get past, especially when you know in your heart why you're doing what you're doing, and you feel like everybody who's there with you is also on the same page. And then when you realize that maybe they're not, then it kind of it kind of changes the way you look at it. I don't know what you got so upset about last week. It was and I didn't. When I was talking to Randy, I meant what I said. I didn't catch it. And I'm sitting here in the room with Thomas while he's saying what he was saying. I didn't catch it. It was a toss-off, cast-off line. Something about, and I'm going to paraphrase. It was something to the effect of the AARP members in union. I didn't catch it when it was said. And if I did, I didn't even know he was talking about you. But for whatever reason, that struck a chord with you and set you off and made you upset. And I'm not going to apologize for what somebody else said. It's not. Hey, sure, he said it on my platform. All right, it's Regalwood Rasslin. My name right there. Look, right there it is, right there at the top. It's even in the belt. Look at that belt, that gold belt right there. Regal. It's all there, right? But this is not going to become the Regal board. Okay, it's not while I'm sitting in this chair. It's not going to become the Regal board. I don't know why that touched you or upset you. Maybe y'all have some lingering stuff between you two that I'm not aware of, and as maybe you're not aware that I have lingering stuff with you, Dion. But we had some fun. We had some good times, and we had what I thought was a good relationship. But it whatever happened when it happened, and I have my understanding of what happened. I'm sure you have yours, but I didn't appreciate it, and I'll just be honest with you. I didn't appreciate it. I think that should have been handled through other avenues, and it probably shouldn't have happened on the day of the show. And I'll just leave it at that. So that's why I don't feel like it's not my job to protect your feelings. It's not my job to protect Thomas's feelings or Randy's feelings or anybody else who may come out here. We say what we say, and we live and die by that, right? I'm a man. I'm gonna stick by what I say, and if we have a discussion later and maybe I was wrong, I'll be man enough to admit that. But this show is not designed to offend or piss anybody off by what's said on it, all right? But I said last week, and I stand by this too, anybody who has a right to say anything they want. Randy brought it up in his portion. We live in a country where we're not going to be stoned to death for our opinions or for what we think. But there are opinions. They're opinions. Opinions are a dime a dozen. You know what they say about opinions? Everybody's got them, right? But I will say this. Don't let a word or a string together sentence rule you to the point where it affects you in your life. Look, a cast-off, nobody would have even known. I didn't even know he was talking about you. I did not know Thomas was talking about Dion Johnson when he said the thing about the AARP members in union. I did not know that. And I don't think anybody else who was watching would have had you not called attention to it. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I certainly didn't know. I did not know until days later. Right? And so, but I will also say, and I said it the next day, and I put a 8-second clip up of the last show. If you're offended, then I guess you're just offended. I'm not the offended police. I can't, whatever. Deal with it ever how you will, but calling more, I think by reacting to it, you call more attention to it than it would have got had it just been rolled on and never been commented on. Because, again, it was a cast-off line. I didn't catch it, and I was in the room. So, look, it is what it is. I said the beginning of episode 1, I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. I've gone through enough of my life to where that part of me, though everybody's got to like me, that part of me is broken and it's been broken for years. If you don't like me, God bless. Don't care, ain't going to lose a minute of sleep for it, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who goes to work and pay these bills. I'm the one who keeps this thing going, and I'm not going to be concerned whether or not this one, that one, or the other one likes Ricky Regal or the real me. Don't care. That part of me got broke some years ago and is incapable of being repaired. All right, that's just a fact. That's a shoot. It is what it is. So I'm not going to lose sleep if you don't like me. If we don't ever speak again, then we don't ever speak again. These are the opinions of those who speak them. Let me say that again. These opinions that are expressed on this show or anywhere in life are the opinions of the person who says them. All right? That doesn't mean everybody's going to change their opinion of you because somebody says something about you. And if it does, then that says more about them than it does about you. Does that make sense? If somebody changes their opinion of you based on the line or cast-off line that somebody throws out there about you, then that says a lot more about them than it does about you and the nature and the status of your relationship with whoever these people are, these imaginary people. I don't mean to ramble, and I don't mean to belabor this, and I wasn't really going to go too deep into it, but I feel like it needed to be addressed because I know some feelings get hurt, and that's never the intention. Certainly not by me. Certainly not by me. I have no. Lace says I shouldn't even have to have this complete conversation. No, you're right, Lace. I shouldn't. But I feel like I have to address it because it did go out. Clearly, it went out because that video has been viewed over a couple of hundred times now, and it got to even to where Ken Magnum called Randy and said, "Hey, you sure you want to go do Regal show?" Why, so I want to be very crystal clear here. Maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't have to have these conversations, and I won't again. I want to address it again. But since we're addressing it today, I feel like I want to be crystal clear here that this is not a negative Nelly show. This is not something that I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get Thomas on here and I'm gonna sick him on this one or I'm gonna sick him on that one. No, it ain't about that. It's not going to be about that. And I'm not going to allow anybody just to attack anybody. All right. I said some things about Jay Eagle. Those are my opinions. All right. At the end of the day, I still like Jay. I think Jay's a good guy. I question some of his decisions when it comes to wrestling, but who cares? Who cares what I question? And because I have this platform, that doesn't mean it carries any more weight than anybody else's opinion. It just doesn't. These are the opinions of those who speak them. So what I say, I will preface right now, and I won't address it again. I won't say it again, but these are my opinions. Whatever I say about this business or about you or whoever, they're just my opinions. They don't carry any weight, and they don't set anything in stone. Okay? And I don't think a cast-off line that nobody would have caught is enough to get so upset about that it affects you. I don't want. This shouldn't be affecting anybody. This should be a little respite from your day. And I never meant to go over 2 hours today. Never meant to. But Randy was on a roll, and I wanted to let him get his stuff across. And when he told us his testimony, I felt like it needed to be heard, and I respect it. So we went long today. But I was going to address this because I don't want that to simmer and fester and become like, oh, well, Regal endorses that. I said that day, I'll say it again, and I will not say it again because I'm not going to continually repeat myself. But the opinions of my guests are their opinions and their opinions only. And just because I'm sitting listening to you and giving you this platform to speak on does not mean I endorse your opinion. Lace says she didn't catch it either. She did hear about it and 100% did not read any of the negative posts. Her time is more valuable than that. And I appreciate that. So is mine. I didn't read any of the posts either. I just kept getting them sent to me by other people. Did you see this? Did you see that? I still got a text about it last night. Hey, you and Dion working some kind of angle? No, we are not. No, we're not. I ain't got time to work angles. This is a wrestling show. Working angles. But I wanted to put out there why I don't feel like I need to run anybody down. I don't need to make things right between people. I'm not your peacemaker. I'm not your, I'm not going to build walls where their walls should be rebuilt or broken, whatever. I'm not. That's not what this is about. You come on here and we have a conversation and you say something that's not popular. That don't mean I said it, and it don't mean I endorse it, but it means I'm happy to give you the platform to then say it. Because again, we live in a place where we can do that. And again, just to be clear, if you get offended, then I guess you're just offended. I don't know what else to say. All right. And Lace pops in again with public service announcement. This is not the old board. We're adults. We need to act like it. I agree. I 100% agree. You know, we should be. We are all grown folks. We're all of a certain age. Let's just say that. I could be in the AARP. That wouldn't offend me. What's to be offended about? I could join the AARP today. I'm not mad about it. I'm not. It is what I'm thankful. Like Randy said, I'm thankful to still be here because let me tell you people something. Regal used to be a party man too. All right? And I used to make it a part of my shtick and in wrestling that I would drink before I got to the show. That's what it was. Right? And had no business in the ring on several occasions. I know that. I knew it then. But I was young and stupid and it didn't matter. So I'm just thankful to still be here. Honest to God, I am thankful to still be here. And still be able to sit here and talk to you. And still, after all this time, have some innate ability, I guess it's just my faith, whatever it is, to upset some people. And okay, if you're upset, I guess you're upset. If you're offended, then I guess you're offended. But at the end of the day, this is not about that. This will not be about that. I appreciate those of you who understand it, who get it. I appreciate those of you who will take my words for exactly what they are as a matter of fact. But I'm sure that everything I've said here will be misconstrued, miscommunicated. It'll be told back 15 different ways. It's like a game of telephone. And then there'll be misunderstandings and there'll be further hurt feelings. But again, if your feelings are hurt, then your feelings are just hurt. I cannot be the feelings police, and I'm not going to be. All right. Enough. And I will not address any of this again. I wanted to get it out here, so I will. The last 10 minutes of this show, if you want to know why, what, and why and how from last week, then the last 10 minutes of this show is all anybody needs to see. I would prefer you watch the whole thing because I feel like the Randy Wayne segment was good. I feel like it was certainly it was touching and it was profound. Just him telling his story, he didn't have to do that. And I didn't know he was going to do it, and I appreciate it. Thanks again, Randy Wayne, for coming on. Thanks for all of you who joined in and watched me today. Watched the show, watched me and Randy today. I do greatly appreciate that. I'm going to leave you with this. I said I'd like to put a little thing in at the end of the shows. We're going to call what did I call it? Let me pull up my notes. I've rambled so much I've forgotten my own taglines for some of this stuff. So I was going to call this the I don't know, the nonsense of the day. We'll just say this is the nonsense of the day. It's really short, really quick clip. I want you to see it, and then we'll call it a day. Check this out. This is from I guess a show in Mexico. This was an entrance to a Mexican wrestler, and it just went awry. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Let me get over here to this. Let me get to this. Oh, wrong one. We're not going anywhere. All right. If you hadn't seen it, it's worth a look. It's a couple seconds. What's the guy? This guy right. Anyway, the guy right. Wait, where's my pointer? But I don't know what happened to him. Legend has it he's still falling even to this day, and I hope he's okay. Sometimes we get a little overzealous. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I do appreciate everybody who joined me. I appreciate everybody who's there. I appreciate those of you who get it. And those of you who don't, well, hang around. Maybe this will be an education for you too, and you will learn the idiosyncrasies of your old good friend Regal there. Thanks for all of you who chatted and participated. That means a lot. Like and subscribe. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget, Inside Wrestling Radio on Facebook is the place where all the updates will be. Also, the Ricky Regal page, it's RIKKIREGAL. The YouTube channel is Wrestle Radio 860, WRESTLE RADIO 860 at YouTube. Twitch, Regalwood 6969. Rumble and Kick, of course, are Regalwood. Look for this bulldog right here, and you know you're in the right place. Gaming returns Friday of this week. Regalwood Gaming will be back. We're gonna fire up some new games, some old games, and fall back into that platform as well. So all things Regal happen right here on Facebook and YouTube. So if you haven't yet, subscribe, like those, drop me a comment, and all that blah 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 blah. Thank you so much for joining me.